G20 Sherpa, former CEO of NITI Aayog, an administrator par excellence, a thought leader, a policy maker, but most importantly a doer, someone who rolls up his sleeves and gets things done. Welcome everyone. I'm in conversation with Mr. Amitabh Kant. Mr. Kant, thank you so much for speaking. The most sizzling question on everybody's mind: how are we going to make our cities climate resilient, considering that we are basically breaking all previous temperature highs?
So you have to do several things. I think first and foremost, you have to improve air quality. It can't be that 42 of our cities are amongst the most polluted in the top 50 of the world. And therefore, we need to take it up as a mass movement. And if you want to improve air quality, you need to do several things. I think first of all, you have to improve the vast amount of biomass and convert it into energy. That's the first and foremost.
So waste.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is again a big problem.
Yeah, so household waste, and that means that you need to segregate it at household level, use it like Indore is doing to convert it into energy. Secondly, you have to undertake a massive cleaning program of the cities. I'm not talking about just Delhi, I'm talking about 42 of our urban cities, which figure in the list of 50. I think the reform agenda of urban cities has to be the #1 priority. And number 3 is that this will not happen unless and until household segregation at household level doesn't take place. And there is a sense of pride amongst the citizens of these urban areas. And the most critical of it, other than biomass and household segregation, is that you need to really focus on transportation in a very big way, and ensure that these cities all go electric by 2030. So my view is that the government has already taken the initiative to procure 10,000 buses. They've allocated about 57,000 crores. That's almost $7 billion US. It's one of the biggest programs of the government. You need to focus on these 42 cities and actually ensure that all buses, all two-wheelers, three-wheelers, everyone goes electric. And the priority should be that in the next 4 to 5 years, two-wheelers, three-wheelers go electric, and lorries and buses all go electric in the next 5 years. And by 2030, even all four-wheelers go electric. There has to be a really big political and administrative will, and there has to be a mass movement around that. This is absolutely critical to my mind if you want to clean up the quality of air of your cities and clean up these cities and have a sense of pride on your urban areas. But when you do this, not only will you improve the living standards of your citizens in a very big way, you will add about a decade more to their lives, but more important than that, I think you will add close to 1.5% to your GDP.
So there is a huge economic accelerator as well, of course, health and productivity. So let me break both these down. One is, you said that you need to, manage your waste segregation. I spoke to Harshika Singh and I've spoken to other Indore commissioners. Indore has been able to do it because they truly made it a city-wide goal and pride for everyone, and continuously has kept improving on every aspect of it. Campaign awareness has to be 100%, commitment by the urban local bodies has to be 100%. But that's not being able to translate across different geographies and our larger cities like Delhi and Mumbai. What is the difference?
So not only Indore, but Surat, Vizag,
Mysore has done well as well.
Many cities have actually done it, and the demonstration impact of that should spread very, very rapidly across India. And actually, we need to really push the pedal. The challenge is that there is a lack of good governance in many of these municipal areas. And without capacity building, without filling up municipal positions, without ensuring that there is a huge community involvement. Indore happened because there was massive community involvement. I mean, the credit goes to the commissioners and the mayors there who've constantly put the pedal on with new and innovative projects. But the key there has been that they've done segregation at household level, and they have then actually use that not to pile up garbage, but to actually convert that into methane, use that as energy for driving buses in the city. So a huge amount of work has been done, creative work, and that lesson is available. I mean, those lessons can be replicated in other parts of India, but that has to be the key priority for both political and administrative will in these governance. And I think state governments need to drive this. This is a state government agenda. Municipalities are with the states, and the states must take ownership. If they have to be a $1 trillion economy, this can't be done without urbanization, and good urbanization at that, but while improving the lives of your citizens.
You've picked up a very interesting point saying that, look, urban local bodies have to do it, municipal corporations have to be more empowered, and it's really flows down from the state. But the empowerment of municipal corporations has not happened, right? Because the 74th constitutional amendment did not really take off the way 73rd did, and Panchayat Raj was, actually implemented in a far better manner. Do you think that next 5 years, maybe from the center, right, that could be the big message? Empower your ULBs, even, there's so much joblessness, hire people, train them, and fill up those positions in the urban local bodies and municipalities.
Yeah, but Manisha, the challenge is that, states want empowerment. They want empowerment. They don't want to empower others. The challenge is that when you get empowered, I mean, the center has done a lot of allocation to the states. I mean, it went in and did 42% allocation to the states, but the states haven't done allocations to the local bodies.
Yes.
But more important than that, they haven't posted outstanding young officers as commissioners and given them a tenure of 5 years. And none of them have been judged on clear outcomes of redefining that city and cleaning up that city. And the lack of political will is a concern in many of these states.
All right. Let's also talk about master planning. When you talk about 42 cities, focus on them, you have said that, look, there are actually many more, 7,000 plus towns which are now becoming city-like, and all of them need master plans, right? But we're struggling to see master plans even in large cities like Delhi, right? MPD 2041 is languishing, it's not seen the light of day. How do we accelerate planning? Because it all starts there, to have the right blueprint. That can be something which can be pushed.
So, we've done this study in NITI Aayog on urban planning, and we realized firstly that in the existing urban cities, urban towns, there are no planners. I mean, many of the urban areas have only 1 or 2 planners, and these planners don't do planning actually. They only do regulatory work. I mean, they only sanction FAR, which is a source of huge corruption in many of these areas, simply because the plans are not clearly defined. And then you have about a vast number of our census towns in India, which are actually urban areas as per the census, but they remain as rural areas. The state governments want them to continue as rural areas because you get Manrega funding and many other rural development scheme funding. So there is a vested interest in remaining rural and not becoming urban. So, the more rural you are, the more funding you get from Government of India. And the tragedy is that, the more resources you put for agriculture and the more resources you put for rural development, the poorer these states will become. Simply because, look at UP for instance. Gautam Budh Nagar, which comprises of Noida and Greater Noida, its GDP is actually 12x more than the next city, which is Kanpur of UP. And Gurgaon, the GDP, is actually more than all other districts of Haryana. So one district is more than other districts of Haryana. So urbanization is a big wealth creator. It is a job creator. It becomes a center of innovation. It becomes a center of manufacturing, innovation, services, all this, and becomes a very big driver of growth, but it becomes a very big driver of employment. So if India is to grow with jobs, and that is the key priority for India, that growth with jobs, then all these states need to focus on smart urbanization. And when I talk about smart urbanization, they need to look at actually converting the census towns which are next to their urban areas into urban areas and embed them with good public transportation, because cities actually should grow on the back of public transportation. They should go not on the back of private transportation of four-wheelers, but grow on the back of good bus service, good, once you have good public transportation, then the city will grow automatically. And on the back of that, you need to do planning. So the point you are making about good planning is very, very critical. It's the most challenging issue, not merely for the bigger cities of Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Calcutta, but for many other Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, as well as for metros. Actually, the real growth has come out of Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, where top class planning. I mean, when I talk about planning, I'm talking about transportation, and I'm talking about compact development. I'm talking about vertical development, because recent lessons across the world have shown that it's not sprawling cities which are good. Yeah. They are compact, dense cities. And compact densities provide for better livability, they are better wealth creators, and they provide a better good quality of life for their citizens. So you need compactness, you need density, so that you don't have to go shopping miles away, but within that area you are able to get all the services available. That has to be the top priority for the state governments.
What I'm hearing is the centre has done a lot of work, and there is no doubt about it. There are numbers, it's unprecedented attention in the last 10 years on urbanization. But now you're saying going forward, it's literally the state's responsibility to take it forward.
Let's look at this, for instance, in all these areas. I mean, let's go to a state like Chhattisgarh, which is full of mineral resources. I mean, it's full of the best mineral resources in this country, and actually it should be $1 trillion economy. And if Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand grow, then the eastern part of India grows, then India will grow rapidly. Now, Chhattisgarh created this Naya Raipur, very well planned, very well developed. So it's a smart city concept. And then, after all the planning and the trunk infrastructure has been done, you need private sector to step in to get into services, manufacturing, many other areas. Similarly, I think Jharkhand needs to create many more cities. Chhattisgarh now needs to get into many more cities. Urbanization will be the big driver. But what has happened in India is that a vast segment of India's population, about close to 46% of our population, is dependent on agriculture. And that means very poorly paid jobs. Actually, the quality of jobs agriculture gives is very poor. So when people say that we want jobs, they are looking for moving out of agriculture into manufacturing. And you need to create cities where manufacturing and services are an integral part of the urbanization process. There cannot be any urbanization without manufacturing, without walk to work. So if you go to Shindra Bidkin, close to Aurangabad, the new city that has been created under the DMIC corridor, or if you go to Dholera in Gujarat, which has been created, these are all manufacturing cities where urbanization is a necessary part of that manufacturing. And you have walk to work, you have good public transportation, you have managers living there. But the challenge is that when you do new urbanization, it takes 25 years. Look at Gurgaon. It has taken us 3 decades to develop Gurgaon, but top class development.
And Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah, similarly, Amravati is the story. So you need continuity and a vision, and you need continuity in terms of the political philosophy that irrespective of the change in government, the new urbanization process will continue regardless. And I think every state needs to take upon itself that we need to develop 4 to 5 cities to accommodate, because 500 million people are going to get into the process of urbanization. People are going to move from rural areas, whether you like it or not. And what we are doing is unplanned, unsustainable urbanization. So if you go from Delhi to Rajasthan, what you're seeing is urbanization, but it's all unplanned, unsustainable. And therefore, you need to do well-planned, sustainable urbanization for the future. And that will be a huge wealth creator.
It's difficult to actually break from such an interesting conversation, but we must. So stay with us. We'll come back and get more answers from Mr. Kant on how to make our cities sustainable and livable. Let me come back to the point that you spoke about right at the beginning, which is faster adoption of electric vehicles in all our cities, because that also helps in air pollution and even keeping the rising temperatures low or lower. The biggest crux in EV adoption has been literally the charging infrastructure, battery swapping, and last budget we saw a lot of encouragement for EVs, including 0% duty for iron batteries, import of iron batteries. Give me a sense of, you've looked at this very, very deeply as CEO of NITI Aayog. How do we accelerate that aspect of it? Because we are already on track, whether it's e-bus seva or electrification of vehicles. But our charging
we need to accelerate it even further. We need to give a 10x more push, because in India 75% of the vehicles are two-wheelers and three-wheelers. So we need to now clearly have a mandate saying that these cities are going to either electrify all two-wheelers, three-wheelers. Actually, we should clearly send out a messages that by 2030 all two-wheelers and three-wheelers will be electric, because the cost of, even the total cost of ownership has fallen, but cheaper than fossil fuel, and the consumer demand is pushing for now two-wheelers. So we should really clearly send out a message that all two-wheelers, three-wheelers will go electric in the next 4 to 5 years, fully electric. Then comes public transportation, the buses, and I think the government of India has done a remarkable job of saying that 10,000 buses will be electric, not diesel. So but every single bus to be bought in India in the future, every single public undertaking should only buy electric buses. And the fourth very critical thing is that the government must send out a clear message that government vehicles, all government cars will only be electric, no diesel vehicle. I mean, many departments are still buying diesel vehicles. It doesn't make sense because the operating cost of electric vehicles is, just 5% of that of fossil fuel cars. So you need to clearly say that all vehicles in government will also be, state governments also, will all be electric. And lastly is the four-wheelers. And there my view is that the government has a new policy of allowing Tesla, etc. to come in and manufacture in India. But my view on that is that Tatas have already taken the lead. Mahindras are coming out with their EV platform vehicles, and these Indian manufacturers actually will take on Tesla in the Indian market.
Can we expect FAME 3 in the budget? Do you think that's likely to happen?
Well, FAME 3 is going to happen in India. Whether it's going to happen in the budget or not, I can't tell you, but FAME 3 will definitely happen in India.
All right.
And we need that support.
You spoke about all public sector organizations and government offices switching to EVs. What about buildings per se, government buildings, right? Why not go renewable?
So
why not? Let's make the start there in terms of energy.
My view on this is that all master plans and all city plans must say that all buildings, irrespective of whether they are private or public, must have charging, and they must all go renewable. I mean, irrespective of private or public. The reason why I'm saying this is that no other country is climatically blessed as India is. We've done a remarkable job of today doing about 200 gigawatt of renewable energy. We are the only country which has met its COP21 targets 9 years ahead of schedule. And actually, irrespective of public or private, every single city must say that all buildings, whether private or public, must be run on renewables, and they must all have charging stations.
So let me ask you, in the next 5 years, what do you think should be the central government's priorities?
First,
national
number one,
energy,
number
integrated
one.
energy
No,
policy?
number one is
okay.
reform these top 42 cities which are polluting. If capacity building, good governance, grassroots work in these cities so that you make them better than Indore, these 42 cities. If you've done that, If you transform 42 cities in India, the impact of that will be enormous in India. You'll 1% GDP. Okay.
Right.
Number two, clear roadmap. By 2030, we'll make all our two-wheelers, three-wheelers, buses, trucks,
lorries,
everything go electric. Clear message. Absolute clean priority. Number three, we'll drive the green hydrogen mission through incentives, through mandates, whatever it is. Make India the champion of green hydrogen and make it the cheapest producer, the cheapest exporter of green hydrogen to the rest of the world. And all this will bring down the cost of green hydrogen from $4.5 per kilogram to $1 per kilogram by 2030. Three different agendas.
Mr. Kant, thank you very much for speaking to us. On that positive note, we conclude this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much.